Andrian, welcome to the Circularists video series. I am thrilled to have you as my guest. I'm looking forward to our conversation and for you sharing. You are based in Indonesia and you are a heavy hitter in the ESG and sustainability space. And so I'm really looking forward to asking you, there's so much that I'd like to know, but I'd like to hand over to you first to do your own introduction. Can you tell us about yourself, your work, your passions?
Okay, thank you, Karen, for the opportunity. It's amazing to be here talking with you within this insightful session. So I'm Andrian. I'm based in Jakarta, Indonesia. My background is from political science. I starting my career in ESG and sustainability from 2017 when I was joining the international youth organizations called 2030 Youth Force. We are advocating about the sustainable development goals, localizing SDGs into youth in Indonesia, and we are working with the government and UN bodies to promote meaningful participations. And then I'm joined Global Reporting Initiative. Is the NGO that focusing on advocating about the sustainability issues. They set the sustainability standard for organizations, create their own sustainability report to show their sustainability performance and become a transparent to stakeholders. From my knowledge and then from my experience, I become a consultant from Multibintang Indonesia. It's a biggest beer in Indonesia. I'm leading the sustainability report of Multibintang Indonesia in 2019. Besides I'm leading the project, I'm also advising regarding what kind of the best practice that they can do in the business. And after that, I joined the sustainability consultant that focusing on the ESG rating, ESG scoring, ESG strategy, ESG policy, ESG reporting. We are working with quite a lot of big fish in Indonesia, from bank, from oil and gas, mining, and other sectors. We are trying to educate and as well help them to reach their sustainability goals. And after that, I joined one of the biggest sustainability consultant in the world. It's called Peterson Control Union. At there, I'm trying to developing the new services, especially in ESG services, and as well I'm helping several companies to get the certification regarding sustainability, such as organic, and then from the palm oil, they have international sustainability carbon certifications and other sustainability certifications. So right now I'm with the Rob Delight and my friends Afrisals. We are aiming to make a bigger impact, especially in Bali and Jakarta in Indonesia. We want to create a sustainability consultancy that help more companies to reach their sustainability goals.
What amazes me, Andrian, you're doing a lot. You have you're obviously having incredible influence, and among businesses and coal, in the coal industry with banking. So, what is the wind in your sails here? So, what I want to understand, because we don't hear much from Indonesia. We don't hear much from outside of our bubble, really. So what I want to try and understand from you, you're obviously doing a lot. You're going into industry and you're doing ESG consulting and SDG sort of alignment and so on. Where's your leverage? Is there legislation behind you to usher in this change? What are you working against and what's working for you? I just want to try and understand that. Can you help us understand?
Okay, sure. I mean, ESG and sustainability now is a big trend, not just in the world, but also in Indonesia's, where companies trying to comply with the stakeholder needs, right? The stakeholders, which can interpret as a government, investors, market, and so on. From the market perspective, right now in Indonesia, it's many Gen Z and then millennials that choosing products that eco-consciously and so-called more responsible, some kind of that. And then from the government perspective, there's a lot of regulation regarding the sustainability in Indonesia. For the example, is the regulation that obligated all the listed company that in exchange, they should report their sustainability report, something like that. And the third thing is about the investors. Right now, investor is looking for the companies that having a low risk on environmental, social, and governance. And how to determine the companies is having a low risk is through the ESG scoring and the ESG report that they publish. So currently, right now, the companies is trying to keep up with the market. Yep, to be leading the sectors.
Yes.
So there's no turn way to not following these trends. That means they have to learn about ESG and sustainability, right? But the problem is with a lot of pressures of the ESG and sustainability, like you call sustainability certifications, ESG reporting, ESG scoring.
Right.
The companies don't know where to start, right?
Absolutely right. And you help them to you help them to know where to start, do you?
Exactly, especially when you're running the business, old business like business as usual, and then framing into the ESG, right? It's kind of hard, and they don't have any resources, any key person to do that.
Right.
So what I'm doing actually, I'm trying to get to know every business operations with my clients, and then because when we are want to reform or contribute into SDGs, become more ESG, good performance and so on, we don't want to it's just become a jargon or buzzword.
Yeah.
To that, yes, to make sure the commitment, we are trying to embedding the ESG strategy into the to the business. So yep. So the every kind of aspect that they're doing that claim ESG is actually is the really matters for the stakeholders and from the business itself. So yeah, that's what I'm doing with the companies.
I mean, this sounds awesome. So from what you're saying, it sounds as if you have an engaged youth that want to make sustainable choices with product. You have businesses that are aware that change is coming and that priorities have shifted and they want to proactively be ready.
Yep.
And it sounds like fertile ground for you to go in and do your work. So what I want to ask you is, talking to different brands, I'm aware of a couple of things. I'm aware that there's widespread apathy and dissonance and denial amongst many consumers about the worst impacts of climate change. People seem to be happy to just trundle on in denial, and it's a challenge for brands because when people respond to surveys, they say yes, we want change, but when they come to spend their money, they'll go for the cheap, damaging products. So then their wallets are not following their values. But what you're describing sounds as if Indonesia are in perhaps a more advanced state than what we're facing. Is that true? Is that you guys sound like you're
really,
just rocking this thing?
Yeah, I mean, not really, not all Indonesia have the capability of the economy to choose the eco-conscious products, and like you said, they gonna choose more cheaper and so on. But right now, there's a trend also in Indonesia that people become more responsible consumer. They want to know what they are consuming, and then where the waste go with into landfill or what,
Mm,
and then somehow they actively advocate regarding that, right? So right now, maybe because of the social media as well, like it's easy to make everything viral. Like in Indonesia, there's several youths that um, video shoot every river Indonesia's or ocean Indonesia. There's a lot of ways at there, and get a lot of attention from the governments, from the private sectors, from the other youth groups, and then they collectively clean it up. So maybe because of it also, it's changed the behaviors of the new generation in here.
right.
Um, yes, and from the business perspective, now youth is a really hot market, right?
Mhm,
And
for sure.
they try to keep up with it.
Right.
Yeah. And the second thing is, as the business, they have to comply with the government compliance. So it is uh, um it is the obligated for them to,
Right.
okay, we have to start somewhere to transform to follow this trend and be more resilient business in the future.
So, so there's legislation in place now that they have to comply with. Is that the case?
Yes, maybe there's several regulation. I couldn't say it's super effective in here. Like every business right now is aware and so on.
Right.
No, but um, based on my experience working with the more than 20 companies in here, they all aware regarding that, and they don't want to uh, having trouble because they don't follow the regulations.
Okay. Right.
Yes.
Right.
So maybe it's just a starting line for them to get to know what is ESG and what is sustainability, but like but I think it's a good start to start somewhere, right?
Of course.
Just follow the compliance first and then become more than compliance.
Right. Right. So it sounds as if businesses are aware there will be consequences if they don't start to move towards uh, ESG goals. There'll be real consequences for them. Um, I'm,
Exactly.
yeah, I'm very focused on the fashion industry because that's my background and I know it well. And it's one of the most colossally damaging industries out there. And yet, in the UK, it's still legal to greenwash, to mislead, and to carry on polluting and burning, emitting high CO2s. It's all still permissible and um, open to play for. Um, and I wonder whether we just need to usher in more legislation to force change. That's just a thought. And then the other thing I want to ask you, Andrian, in terms of being on the front line of the first impacts of climate change, where does Indonesia sit there? Have you seen impacts already? Are you expecting to see impacts? How dangerous is it?
Okay. Um, of course, we are most of our people in here is farmers, right? And the climate change is really impacting them regarding the harvestings and then regarding the yield because of the climate that suddenly changed.
Right.
But we have to know also Indonesia is the developing countries. We just start to become a modern country.
Right.
And in some way, we have to adjust with the sustainable way.
Yes.
Okay, so um, in Indonesia itself, we cannot basically like suddenly transform, maybe like in Norway using the renewable energy and then ban palm oil and so on. We cannot do that. We have to just what is the culture in Indonesia, and then what is the basically our our what is it called it? Our efforts, not efforts. Sorry, I lost the word. Let me check first.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay, sorry.
No problem at all.
Oh, okay. Our ability
Oh,
regarding regarding the to make our people more resilient, to make our people to not get to the poverty and so on. So Indonesia itself, it's always ratificate every kind of the agreement regarding the climate change, so-called Paris Agreement, COP, Sustainable Development Goals, and everything. But in implementations, I have to say, it's not 100% effective. Like we want to launch carbon market, but somehow in some way, it's always pending. Last time, the ministry wanna launch it in 2022, but suddenly changed into 2023. And yeah, but I kind of get it because we still have a lot of things to do as a developing country. And regarding the Paris Agreement, we also ratification to to reach our NDCs goals. But at some points, we already create the roadmap to carbon net emission and so on. But in Indonesia situation, it still need coals to empower our electricity, something like that. So I cannot say or comment a lot to the governments, but I know there's there must be a huge political wills to do the reformations, and I believe we can do that. But somehow the political candidate or the politician that's already in the parliamentary or in the executive, they're not putting it is as a top priority. Yep. But with the current market situation, like investors and then companies and then the consumer itself, it's quite positive to do the reformations, to tackling climate change. So yeah, there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of issue to tackle, but somehow in some way we go to the positive way.
Yes, you know, so historically in the world, so we've got this climate emergency, and historically the emissions have come from the UK, the USA, and Europe, right? The bulk of the historical emissions, and then more recently along came China and overtook in terms of its emissions, and so now the world has screeched to a halt in terms of our thinking, and we're asking all nations, including developing nations, who have no historic contribution to this problem. We're asking you to stop your development so that we can all make this better. There is an injustice in there that we have to work through. Have you got any thoughts on this, how we can navigate this fairly?
I mean, I really agree with you, Karen. Like, developed country is pushing developing and poor country to to keep up with them regarding the climate change and so on. But at some point, we just start our development, right?
I know, yeah.
And that's why somehow we need more support in financially, knowledge, and of course other scheme too, support the developing and as well the poor country. But from Indonesia itself, we have more than 17,000 islands in here.
You have more than
17,000 islands, which is the biggest archipelago countries in the world.
you
So
have 17,000 islands.
more, yes, more than 17,000 islands.
That's incredible.
Exactly.
And that's called what is it? Archipelago. What is the word?
Archipelago.
Yes, that one.
That's basically it.
Yeah,
Yes.
a cluster of islands. Right. Oh my
So
goodness.
yeah, every islands and every region have their own treatment, because we cannot say like, okay, you use the panel, solar panel, and then the other island same goes the solar panel, and every region use solar panel as the electricity. We cannot do that. We have to assess based on the potential of the regions, and it needs a lot of time to do.
Yes, I bet
And
it
it's a
does.
lot of resources to do, right?
Yeah, with
So
17,000 islands, I'm sure.
yeah, but at some point it's urgent for us to, to reform our behavior of living and our from the business usual and then become the sustainable business and so on. So what I'm gonna say is, okay, yes, I'm agree. We have to act now, but at some point, we have to aware that not all regions can do the quick as we want. Yeah, and because of that, the country that already set their sustainability goals or already making a mess before should do something to help other countries to leverage their development and then become more sustainable.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a win-win solution, but at the end of the day, those kind of things, it's hard to reach, and we all know about it.
Yeah.
So basically me as a person, I'm not gonna trying to focus on the global issue that currently happening, because there's always backlog at there.
Okay.
And there's always a political issue at there. So what I'm gonna do as a person, I'm gonna take my part to, combating the climate change and making a real impact to that. So I know, at least for myself, I can impacting my community, and I can impacting more people to do the right things, like you do actually.
Interesting.
Right?
Interesting. So you're taking your fight not to the global kind of arena, but locally.
Exactly.
In your community, where you can see and engage and impact your neighbors.
Yes. Even though we have to in line with the global's dynamic political and so on, but
yes,
if you always talk about it, if you always think about it, it's more like impossible, right? Because a lot of backlog.
Right?
Yeah, it's too
big.
So
yeah.
Think global, act local.
I love that. Can you say that once more?
Think global, act local.
Yes. I think we should all adopt that slogan. That works. That makes complete sense. I want to ask you about the circular economy. So with the consultancy that you're doing and you're going into businesses, is this all pointing towards circularizing a circular economy? Do you view it through that lens?
Yeah, sure. Because when we want to making sustainable businesses, we also not just taking care of the environment, but we also have take a look on the social and governance aspects, which is it's a whole embedding the company, the business itself. So when we wanna start to do innovations, maybe like recycle bottle and then plastic credit, carbon credit, circular economy, and so on. We have to determine actually what kind of the ESG issues that really matters for our companies, right? So every initiative is can be measures, have a target, and have a policy to do that. Yep. So regarding the circularity, what we are doing actually, we set the strategy of the company itself. Like what I said, from the target, and then the strategy, and then the person in charge to do that. Yep. And then the second one is I believe every company actually have their own best practices. And somehow in some way, the best practices, it's not just come from the company mindset, but also when they engage with the beneficiaries. So we encourage them to have a consultation with the beneficiaries regarding that, because to answer the local problems, actually the locals itself knows how to solve it.
Yeah. Do you know,
right?
yes, you're so right. I've had very similar conversations about this, the power of the local knowledge in terms of on so many fronts, in terms of the resources available, the land, the vegetation, the soil, the local soil makeup. I mean, it just goes on and on. Very interesting. Yeah. I see the parallel.
Yeah. So with that, you're not just tackling about the circular economy, you're tackling about the community conflict, your surrounding areas, and then you gain trust and reputations from your stakeholders. You can more engage with the community. So when you do the what I call it is embedding ESG strategy into your business, your business strategy, actually you're not just reform your business become more sustainable, but more resilience, because you're already mapping all the risks, and then how you tackle it, and then what kind of strategy to tackle it. So basically ESG is not just a jargon right now, but it's a strategy for the company to win the market and more resilience.
Right. I love that thought. I'm gleaning so much wisdom from you, Andrea, and it's fantastic to talk to you. So on a closing note then,
okay.
In a previous video, I put out the question, who does that? Meaning, who wakes up either on day one or over a series of days, who wakes up and decides, I'm going to the front line of this fight for a safer planet. So what I want to ask you is, what makes you passionate about this space? What makes you go to the front line of change? And you're having such impact already in your work. What drives you? Why?
Thank you so much. I think every person have their own motivations, but for myself, well, I see about the 2030 agenda or about the sustainability things, about the ESG, is the program to make our future is better. Work or not, this kind of agenda is gonna impact young people. Because maybe the key person in the government, in the companies, or so on, our seniors is already retired or die in the 20s or 30 years later, but young people is gonna lead the futures. And if it's not work out, we know already about the risk, the climate change. Like there's a there's a flood, about the food, and then about the endemic virus and so on. There's a lot of things that gonna impact us. So right now, as a young people, to advocate about our happy future, we have to know about the issue itself,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Make a capacity for our own,
Yes.
and then try to force or engage with every actors to work together, collaborate together, not competition, but work together to
Right.
tackle these problems.
Yes.
So yeah, and in the futures, we become the decision makers. So
Right.
if we want to be wise decision makers and not repeating our same mistake before,
Right.
we have to learn start from now. So that's why I'm um my motivation to trying to tackling climate change, and then um learning about the business investor perspective, and then the government perspective, because actually I want to know what is the holistics act to to solve this problem, and to not impacting my life in the future and my future generations.
Yes. Wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for joining me on the Circularists. I cannot wait to share
Yeah,
all of
really
your
thank
knowledge
you.
and wisdom. And I hope that we can talk again in a future date to look at progress
Exactly.
and what's new and how we're doing,
Yeah,
as we approach 2030. So
yeah.
look forward to
And
talking.
I would love to meet you in person, maybe someday.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, wherever that might be, however we get there. That would be
Yeah.
awesome.
And
Andrew,
thank you for creating this platform, Karen.
oh,
I mean, this is a small act like what you do, but when you gain voices from a lot of perspective and trying to embracing this kind of diverse perspective, and um, asking people to you know uh, to follow our initiation, or maybe to do the climate action and so on, it's it's gonna make a real huge impact, because people got inspired, and then people gonna act and so on.
right.
So thank you so much for providing this kind of platform for people to talk. Like, I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. You're most welcome, and this is my hope too. So yes,
Yes,
we'll make a difference for sure together, all of us.
sure.
Yeah. All right then, Andrian. So thank you so much, and see you soon. Okay.
Thank you so much.